All right, we are recording. We are right here. The title, right here. And I have a new co-host today because my man Tyler couldn't make it, so I have my brother Tony Recco here. Say hi to the fans.
Howdy, folks.
And I have two very special guests today. They are the baseball coaches here at Lincoln College. Tony Thomas is the older-looking guy, and Kolton Mayall is this guy with the gaming headset. So yeah, my guests are here. They are both the baseball coach at Lincoln, and Kolton actually is the strength and conditioning coach here at Lincoln as well. So hey, just say hi, guys. Introduce yourselves, and let's start with Kolton.
You have no mic, Kolton.
No mic.
I can't hear you.
How's your audio? He's actually sitting in the same room as me.
You're still low.
If you want to, just come and sit in with me in the same frame.
All right, that works.
All right, Kolton. Hey, this is gonna be the first time and probably the only time ever that we are gonna sit in the same frame here. All right.
I mean, unless you get big, then you just invite people and pay them to come on your podcast, like Joe Rogan.
Like what Joe Rogan does.
I said we could
So listen, Kolton is gonna start, introduce himself, why he's coaching, his ball play in college. So yeah, just tell him where you're from.
All right, so I grew up in a small little farm town about an hour west of Lincoln. It's called Vermont, Illinois, a town of maybe 600 people. No gas station, that type of town. Went to the same high school, grade school, all 12 years. Then I went to Spoon River College, played baseball actually against Tony for a couple years. We got a funny story we can tell you about the first time we actually met each other after that.
I'm excited.
Played 2 years, then got a call late, about this time, honestly, from a guy I'd never met, who'd never seen me play before, said, hey, come out to Kansas, play baseball. So then I took a 7-hour trip, Lindsborg, Kansas, Bethany College, played 2 years, graduated 2.5 years later. And then I got a phone call from Tony saying that he was looking for an assistant coach, and it turns out the guy I was playing for worked and played for Tony, so kind of came full circle right there.
So Tony actually called you.
Yeah.
Wow. Share that
Something
story,
wrong with
Tony.
that?
What made you call Kolton?
Well, Andrew Bartman, who is with USA Baseball right now, was my former player and former assistant, and was looking for someone. He recommended Kolton, so got a hold of Kolton. Kolton, being close to Lincoln, not too far away, Illinois guy, been in our conference before. Because, of course, many people probably don't know that we were a junior college for a long time, and now we're NAI school. So I thought it really went hand in hand. Plus, he brings in some attributes that I don't have, like strength and conditioning, and a little younger than I am, too.
Just a touch.
Yeah, and honestly, I moved here to start coaching at Lincoln in September, and, man, I have learned so much from Kolton in the strength category. He has taught me so much, like just the proper technique and form. But, yeah, I'll have my brother Tony introduce himself and tell us where he's from and what he's done to be here on the podcast.
All right. Well, I'm Sam's brother. He started the podcast with Tyler, as you guys have probably already heard. Anything he's probably said where he's grown up, I have the same exact story. We grew up on a 300-acre farm, just worked, chainsawing, cutting wood. Wrestling, sports, all that stuff. Sammy went to Edinburgh because NCAA double champ Gregor Gillespie, who I heard might be on the podcast later, he went to Edinburgh. I followed Sammy. We all wrestled together. We lived together, and I stayed in Edinburgh. I'm still here. Sammy moved to Lincoln. That's about it right now.
Well, share with Kolton and Tony and the viewers about your fighting and your amateur fights.
Yeah.
Because actually, Coach Thomas here always asks about you. So. Okay.
Well, after wrestling, I think I went home to New York for about, 6 to 8 months because I really didn't have anything else to do. So I just lived with my parents. And then I eventually wanted to move back to Edinburgh just kind of to change something because I felt like I needed to. Once I got back to Edinburgh, I started working at a gym, Erie Fitness Academy, right in Edinburgh, Erie area. And they had wrestling mats and they had MMA fighters working out there, training. So I was like, all right, I have a wrestling background and boxing with my dad when we were young, and I knew a little bit. So I just started training with them. And then one day, it was like probably 2 or 3 weeks before like a fight card in Erie, I was like, I want to fight. So I texted a couple people. I called the promoter, and she's like, all right, I got a kid, 145. Make weight, come fight. Get your doctor stuff, get your blood work and everything. So I did all that and felt good. And that was my first fight. Ended up winning that fight, 3rd round TKO. It was a good fight. Actually, end of the 2nd round, we traded right hooks, and we both dropped each other. Yeah. And that was probably the first time in my life I've ever not known what happened. Sammy was in my corner.
Yeah, and I was actually sitting in Tony's corner for this. So after they like both dropped each other in the 2nd round, like with about probably 10 seconds to go.
Yeah.
I was a bit jumpy and a bit nervous, but then going into the 3rd round, I just had a gut feeling like that Tony had him. So once Tony dropped him and like just started throwing the hammer fist bombs, I was going nuts in the corner. I was going absolutely nuts, and then the ref stopped it, and Tony got his first win. So it was very exciting.
Yeah, it was a good time. I'll explain what it feels like to go out though. Like when he hit me with that hook, I went down, and then I came back up. Good thing the round ended. I mean, kind of. I went into my corner. My coach, Jeremiah Yeager, he's a pro fighter. He has like a 500 record. I asked him, I was like, did we headbutt? Because I was like, there's no way this kid caught me with a right hand. So then he's like, no, he's like, you got dropped. So honestly, it's weird. It rejuvenated me. Like I was starting to get a little tired, but when I came back up, I felt like I didn't even fight yet. And 3rd round came out, and just, it was good from there.
Got the adrenaline pumping.
Maybe.
It must have been. Yeah.
Maybe for your next fight, I can bring Coach Tony and Kolton with me.
Yeah.
Coach Thomas here loves the UFC fighters, huh?
I do. I enjoy watching that.
And a fun fact for the viewers here, which not many people know, and I don't think I've shared this yet, but both Matt Hughes and Corey Anderson, the big names in the UFC, are both wrestled here at Lincoln College. So that's pretty cool. Coach Thomas has talked to them both many times, huh, Coach?
Well, I do. Actually, Mark Hughes actually was in town the other day and gave me and my wife, Bridget, who also works at Lincoln College, a call. I had a recruit on campus, so I wasn't able to go eat lunch, but my wife was able to go say hi, eat lunch with them. Corey Anderson worked for my wife in the housing department here at Lincoln College, and like I said, everybody is aware of what Matt's done with his success in the UFC. But it was really fun, and you guys are a little younger, so I remember those fights when Matt won his championship and also lost his championship, and those. But we had big gatherings in our garage with a lot of our friends, and came over and watched the pay-per-views, and really supported him. And I think I showed Sam the other day. I've got pretty much all his championship posters in my garage. So it was fun to watch him succeed, and it was definitely heartbreaking when he got beat, but it's a tough sport, and you got to admire those guys for putting themselves in that position with their athletic ability and understanding. But I applaud every one of them, no matter if they're 0-35 or 35-0. They do some hard work and some dedication to put themselves there.
And actually, Matt Hughes is only one of 2 people to beat George St. Pierre, huh? With Matt Serra. Well,
yeah, I think, yeah. And we were talking about that the other day, but his fights were fun to watch, especially when, predominantly with those wrestling things, he really worked hard on his boxing and stand up, but, he was known for that wrestling power, strength, and he kicked me to back one time. Funny story is we're at practice and, or at baseball practice at Lincoln College before we had the Lincoln Center. We all had to practice in what we consider the old gym now. And they had a big wrestling tournament the next day. So they were going to have the mats pulled out, but we had practice from, I think it was 7 to 9 that night. So all of a sudden we're getting ready to condition. And the side doors open and I'm paying attention, yelling go, and all of a sudden I have a big paw on my shoulder, I have a big paw on my left shoulder, and I look back and I got both Hughes boys standing right behind me, along with Mark Fioria, who trained him a little, and he was also a Lincoln College graduate. So my guys' eyes light up, and they're like, "Oh, we introduced him and stuff." So he came back and did some good things for not only me as an individual and our family, but for Lincoln College.
Yeah, and I will never forget when Matt Hughes slammed that guy off the top of the octagon.
Yep.
That like one part just sticks with me, and is a part of why I got into the UFC, and also, which I know both Tonys here probably have seen this, but the fight that got me into loving the UFC was when Dan Henderson knocked out Michael Bisping.
Oh yeah,
jumped on him with the flying bow, and.
I mean, we all have our favorites, of course, with no questions. And I don't want to say I have a favorite here or there and to get around the country and somebody come and knock on my door and say, "Hey, you don't like me?" No. But yeah, that was a fight that was pretty fun to watch. But Chuck Liddell was one of my favorite too.
Oh yeah, Chuck was. Yeah, he was a pioneer. Yeah.
Absolutely. When Chuck knocked out Tito in that second fight, man, that was awesome. I still go back and watch those clips from time to time. But yeah, not only Matt Hughes from Lincoln College, but also Corey Anderson, who wrestled heavyweight here at Lincoln, right?
Yeah, Corey came in, everybody knows, well, I don't know if they know, Corey came into Lincoln College kind of underrated and stuff like that as a wrestler, and, was kind of out of shape. He has worked his tail off to put himself in the position he has with, not only strength and conditioning, but nutrition and other facts and other, ideas about what it needs to become become someone that can succeed at that level.
Which I think he can do, honestly. He's a very talented fighter. Yeah, so next I just wanted to get in, what made the both of you want to get into college coaching and, just coaching young student athletes, and what, made y'all motivated to coach at this level. And I'll start with Kolton.
So like we said earlier, it was really, honestly, I was standing in the weight room one day with one of my teammates when we were working out, and Bartman walked up and said, "Hey, come over here, I got to talk to you." My first thought was, "Oh crap, what do I do now?" Right? He walks up, or I walk over to him and he goes, "What do you want to do after you graduate?" And that was the first time I even started thinking about that question, because we were like 3-4 months away from the semester being over, and I was going to be done in January or something. And I was like, I don't know, I'm probably just going to go back home and look for a job. And he said, "Well, you ever think about coaching?" And I was like, "You mean like high school?" He goes, "No, like college." I said, "Well, I mean, if there's a spot, I'd take it." And he goes, "Well, Lincoln College is looking for a guy. Call this guy, Tony Thomas. And then you got to call his wife, Bridget, too, because when I first got here, if you wanted to be an assistant coach, you also had to work in res life and live in the dorms and be an adult, all right?" So that was something I was not even used to, because in college, I was the farthest thing from an RA you could find, and now I turned into one. So kind of got thrown into it, got here. It was a little awkward at first, I feel like, because I literally just left a school where these guys I'm coaching could have been on my team. So the first couple of years were a little weird for me. But then I kind of settled in, just started watching Tony, figuring out how to do stuff, called Bartman, other teammates that got into coaching as well, and just collaborate with people. But honestly, just watching Tony and the things he's done, because he's been coaching baseball longer than I've been breathing air. So he knows a thing or two. So.
How many years, Coach?
This will be my 28th year as head coach. 31st year overall. I was an assistant for 3 years, and Kolton's, Kolton kind of hit it on the head. I played 2 years at Lincoln College, so he understands how valuable Lincoln College really is to me. As an individual, it gave me an opportunity as a young student athlete to get my start. And without Lincoln College, I can truly sit here and say I'm not sure where I'd be right now in life. But after I graduated, I went to Millikan University, which is a Division III school in my hometown of Decatur, Illinois. And then in 1990, Kolton, thinking he was young, I came straight out of college, became an assistant coach at Lincoln College, and I also become an adult RA. So I started my life as a Hall representative also. So in 1993, at the age of 25, our head coach that I was under for 3 years decided that he had enough, and they gave it to a 25-year-old. And, I had to live 2 years in a dorm as resident hall director, even as head coach. So I've had a path that's right place, right time. I guess to say it pretty simple. But I've been there going into my 28th year. Really, really love the junior college system. Many people probably don't know that we've gone to NAI over the last, this will be our 3rd year for the NAI. So I'm seeing a different realm of, juniors, seniors. I had to prepare my freshmen and sophomores for their junior and senior year academically and athletically, but now I get to keep them and prepare them for life and for their future of whatever that might be. But, for me to be there for those guys is very inspirational. Unique opportunity. I've got to coach my son for the last 4 years. But all 350 kids that I've had over the last 28 years are my sons with no questions. But, academically, family-oriented, all those aspects have come into play of what I represent Lincoln College and those student athletes for, and it's been fun with no questions. Early in my career, I was pretty tough on guys. I've kind of lightened up a little with no questions.
Like
but
most older coaches and
do what?
Like our father, Tony.
Yeah. But you're kind of times change a little, and you have to adjust year in, year out, especially as a junior college, with what you have and what you don't have. At the 4-year school now, we have the upperclassmen to lead the way a little more. So it's lightened the load, I think, a little. I think last year we had a couple of guys that were able to take, I don't want to say they didn't take responsibility, but take a little more responsibility and help us as coaches understand, to teach the freshmen and sophomores, this is what he likes, this is what he doesn't like, things in that nature. So, I think over the next couple of years, that junior senior class is really going to be a positive for me and our coaching staff with helping teach. But we have had many academic All-Americans. We've had many team GPAs over 300 over the years. Our academic success has been wonderful. We had 5 or 6, I can't remember, Kolton, 6 academic All-Americans this year. We had 14 AII all-conference academic. And my son, Ryan, who has a GPA of a 3.93, graduated with, won the Lehman Award, which is the highest recipient for an athletic academic student at Lincoln College. So me and my wife were really proud of him. But coaching got me to this point, and I wasn't for sure if I wanted to coach right away. But I fell in the right path, and it's been fun. And I'm only 52, so hopefully I have a few more years left.
Yeah. So, what makes your baseball team so efficient in the classroom?
You don't want to upset Coach Thomas. I mean, pretty serious. No, I'll tell you what, I may start talking a little about Lincoln College and the past teams. The past teams have represented me well in the classrooms. So I truly believe that they pass that down from year to year, and they want to be the highest GPA. They want to be the highest individual team to have the most academic All-Americans, the most all-conference academic All-Americans. But I preach, if you don't want to go to class, you don't want to get the best possible grades you can get, we're not going to get along. And some people have found that that's true, but I'm here to help you as an individual. And when I say best possible grades, if a kid has a calc class or an English class or something that he is not particularly fond of, we want them to push to get the best possible grade they can. If it's a C, it's a C. But, we want A's and B's, and we want everybody to graduate with 3.0 or better. And that's what we preach when we recruit. And this year's freshman class is I have a few 24 ACTs, I have a few 22. So they might be one of the brightest ones overall with their ACTs or SAT scores that indicate that it's going to take place.
Yeah. And honestly, if I could go back and change one thing in life, it's probably to not only try harder in the college classroom, but to put more effort in. Because honestly, my freshman, sophomore year of college, I was slacking off and I did all the wrong things. And I wish I could take that back because I only graduated like with a 2.5 GPA. When my brother here, Tony, graduated like with a 3.0 or higher. And honestly, Tony, he was always on our academic team. So I will have him share with you that experience of dominating.
So he's a whole family guy. He just doesn't dominate in other areas too.
Yeah, I'm the black sheep, I guess.
Once I went to Edinboro, and me and Sammy, I got lucky. I didn't have to live on campus. I lived with Sammy off campus, and that was when he started to pick it up. Once I started, because he couldn't get showed up by me. I mean, honestly, if you put for me, I don't know how it is for everybody, but just a little bit of effort into college academics, like you're going to do good. If you just talk to your professors, I mean, it's hard to not do good. I think I ended with a 3.2 and I graduated in 3 years. Yeah, 3 years. Yeah. Yeah. So I left with still 2 years of eligibility for wrestling. I didn't see any reason to stay after I graduated. But yeah, academic wise, if you just go to class, that's the biggest thing people don't do. Just do your work. It's really easy, not gonna lie. It is.
Yeah, and I found that out at the end of my second, the beginning of my third year. Yeah, Colton, how were your grades in college?
Oh, well, living in a small town, going home every night, mom and dad make you do your homework. School an hour and a half away. You go to your room at the end of the night, nobody's there. So my first semester was a little bit of an experience. I actually walked into one of my classes final, and the teacher looked at me and said, "What are you doing here?" I said, "Well, it's the final." And she said, "Even if you ace this, which you won't, you still won't pass my class." So that was a little bit of a wake-up moment for me right there. Yeah, so now I preach to the guys kind of like what Tony just said. Go to class, turn your work in, and you can don't do terrible on the test, and guess what? You're going to graduate college in a couple years.
Yeah.
Just doing those simple things.
So,
Exactly.
Coach Thomas, what do you look for, like, out of juniors and seniors in high school to make sure that they don't turn out like, and I don't want to say me, but like somebody like that fails out, like, which traits are like both you and Colton like searching for? So like somebody is a great student athlete.
I guess if I had that answer, I would be a millionaire with no questions. Early in my life with baseball, I looked for kids that, wanted to be at Lincoln College with no questions, that kind of fit what, my ideas were. I'm not going to sit here and say I didn't give up a little athletic ability to get a better kid, but there's probably times I have done that. I want someone that wants to put forth the effort. I want someone that is willing to, go a little extra mile to help out. I'm a big individual believer, and I believe that you have to take care of yourself. That's not be selfish towards your teammates or baseball field or other aspects. But I want guys that want to be there, that want to learn. I still have to teach with some of our players with no questions, some ideas and some concepts on the baseball field. We have a young man that I won't say his name or anything, but really didn't put forth the effort. He put forth the effort, but struggled a little his freshman and sophomore year, and he's actually going to be a fifth-year senior. That's going to dare dad quite a bit, but he's going to be a fifth-year senior. And last year he got over a 3.0 for the first time because not only is he in his major, but he's kind of sitting there thinking, hey, he's been teaching the right thing and preaching the right thing. It's up to me to get that done. But I want people that are passionate about the game of baseball, people that are passionate about supporting not only themselves but their teammates, and I want people that are passionate about Lincoln College because, like I said, I'm a graduate. Also, it's not like I walked through the doors and became a baseball coach at this institution. I'm a graduate. My wife's a graduate. My daughter's a graduate. Ryan Thomas, my son, is a graduate. My brother-in-law, my mother and father-in-law both work there. So we do have family ties with Lincoln College. I do bleed purple. And as everybody makes fun of me, I wear purple every day. I think I could probably wear purple 7 days a week for 30 straight days with no question. So I want guys that want to be there and want to represent Lincoln College proudly.
And what makes Lincoln College so special in your eyes?
It gave me an opportunity. It's given me my whole life. And that's what I don't think some of my guys understand sometimes. It gave me a start as an athlete. And my sophomore year was probably in between my freshman and sophomore year in college was probably the real first time I thought I wanted to be a coach. I'm not saying a college coach. I expected to go to high school or be an assistant for a while before I even came close to being a head coach. But I'll give you an example. A gentleman by the name of Rob McDonald, who was my head coach my sophomore year at Lincoln College. I had 4 college head coaches. People don't realize that. So I had 4 different philosophies to learn, 4 different years. But Rob McDonald became the head coach my sophomore year, and I'm down in Bradenton, Florida, working for the summer. And he calls me, and this is probably why I'm so truthful with my guys, which sometimes, I think we all have an idea. We're 18 years old. I don't want to listen to him, but yet, he's right. But he called me. He goes, hey, Rob McDonald, I just got the head job. Niles left. I didn't know if you heard. And I'm like, no, I didn't. He went to Kankakee Community College after my freshman year, our head coach my freshman year. So Rob goes, I have a better third baseman than you coming in. So you're going to be a backup as a sophomore. I want you on the team. I think you're a good player. You have great ability when it comes to understanding the game, kind of that coaching thought process. But he goes, I'd like you to catch for me. And I'm like, really? He goes, yeah, I'd like you to catch. I need a catcher. I'm like, I can handle that. I go from third to catching. So I was very thankful that he was truthful with me that day and honest, and that really has helped me as a coach start my process. But the bottom line is I hung up the phone, and about 10 seconds later, I go, what the – I might have said a few words. I'm going to be a backup catcher. His brother was going to be the starter because Andy was my age, and Andy was 6'3", about 215, and I'm about 5 foot. He's a big boy. But Andy ended up, like I said, a lot of my stories are right place, right time. Andy hurt his back, so Andy had to move to DH in first base. So I got the starting spot. So, somebody was on my side for a long time, and, it just trickled down from there.
Yeah, that's a pretty good story and good timing, good placement, and honestly, that was a good story of why Lincoln's so special to you and the whole Thomas family.
Right.
So now I'm going to switch things over to Kolton here, and Tony, my brother, can feel free to hop in anytime. I was going to ask Kolton how he balances strength and conditioning and baseball coaching yearly. So, yeah.
It's kind of just worked itself out because when I first got here, I was just baseball, did our strength only, was an RA. So really all my time was focused into my guys and my guys only. So that worked itself out. So I'd get done working and we'd have to work 4 6-hour shifts in the evening. So I had a lot of downtime to get stuff done and be productive or be lazy and watch TV. Happened a lot too. But then I asked JJ, the swim coach, if he would allow me to kind of watch a couple swim meets with them and then kind of help with their lifting, because I just think it's cool to see how athletes move differently in different sports and how you can develop them in the weight room to make them move better in their given sport. That's how I go after things into the strength and conditioning world. But then I got wrestling the last 2 years. And so wrestling, we lift at 6 a.m. Monday, Wednesdays, Fridays usually.
Yeah.
So I'm in there 5:30ish on most days, and then go eat breakfast, come back to work, work in the fitness center, which I also manage on our campus. I'm up there most days from about 8 till about 2 in the afternoon, go to practice, and then really depends on where I can fit it in around baseball. Like, there's a lot of times I haven't been to the wrestling lifts because during your guys' season, you move it back in the afternoon.
Yep.
And well, I'm a baseball coach too, so I got to be over there. And that kind of on my hierarchy takes over strength and conditioning. Although that's what I went to school for. It's what I love to do, to develop athletes. But baseball's my first love. It was the first sport I was ever really good at. So that's just baseball's it for me.
And honestly, both me and Tony can kind of talk about this. Both of us at Edinboro didn't really have a strength coach, so it was kind of our own wrestling coaches thinking that they knew stuff when maybe really they didn't, but gave us certain programs and like certain lifts when maybe it wasn't the best option. So I come here at Lincoln and a much smaller campus and like atmosphere than Edinboro, and I see Kolton just doing such a good job here, like his strength programs and his coaching, and it's just awesome because I and Tony here didn't quite have that, and like, right, Tony, it was kind of tough.
Yeah, it was different than, yeah.
Great answer.
I don't want to talk. I don't know. You never know who's listening.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I think it could have been a lot different I think it's to where what the other Tony said, like, as you're getting older, you have to adapt to the different styles now of kids, and it's just not, we're more advanced as humans and we know what's better for people, and like people get stuck in their old ways, and actually what they're doing isn't helping their athletes, it's actually hurting them. So that might be where the old school coaches were at in Edinboro. Yeah. Not saying they weren't good coaches, but
no, I totally get it, man.
Yeah.
Like the stuff I do in the weight room now, if you look back at when I first got here,
oh yeah,
I'd have probably kicked myself in the ass.
Yeah.
The shit I had my guys doing.
Yeah.
But the more you collaborate, the more information you get, especially in that world. Like even when you guys were in school, the stuff you should have been doing has probably changed now.
Oh yeah,
times over because they do research and find all these studies out.
Yes.
It's just insane. I've read probably since quarantine started, probably about 25 books, just different authors on different aspects of lifting, strength conditioning, breathing, just all sorts of stuff that ties into your physical being. They say a lot in those books. So.
Yeah, and like my brother Tony said, like times change, and some coaches roll with the changes, and some don't. And I'm not saying that my college coaches are bad people, but I'm not saying that. But obviously, having a strength and conditioning coach definitely benefits the athletes who are looking to win national titles or become an All-American or be a great student athlete. And I just love what Kolton is doing at Lincoln.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Oh, he does a good job. Does a really good job.
Try to do the best I can.
It saves me time.
Yeah. How so?
I just sit and watch now. I don't have to sit there, and if somebody's slowing down, I just walk up to him and saying, you want to stay in this room or do you want to go home? That's pretty simple. And then Kolton can continue to do what he needs to do and that. But he does a really good job, and it definitely saves me time and energy to worry about other things. I'm usually on my phone texting guys, recruits, whatever, while he's in there and getting that done.
Yeah. So next, I was just wanted to.
Yeah, we'll go. I have a question for Kolton.
Yeah.
So, do you specialize your lifts like sport specific, or are you kind of generalized? Or
it depends. So I'll just put this here. So like with my wrestlers, they're not going to do the same things that the swimmers and my baseball players do, just because swimmers and baseball players are overhead athletes, and wrestlers, you guys are insane. You want to go as hard as you can for as long as you can.
They are.
It's like a marathon. To me, I would not be able to do it because I catch, so I don't have to run a long ways.
Yeah.
But I mean, I do it based off sport movement. Like I'm not gonna have these swimmers overhead pressing or bench pressing to see how much they can do. I'd rather have them have strong glutes, hips, hamstrings, calves, make their kicks better. Like with wrestlers, I have our guys work their grip a lot, work their neck. I had a kid last year, I had him doing neck planks on a physio ball, and he's like, I've never done these before. I said, yeah, you probably got a weak neck then. And then, like, I've taught so many kids how to squat properly, how to just deadlift the right way. I
Yeah.
don't know. Based off movement of sport is how I do it.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I to answer your question, Tony, my brother, I lifted with obviously the wrestling team and a couple swimmers too, and the baseball team a couple times. So I noticed a big change in the style and uniqueness of the program, if that's a
Mm.
word, which I
Yeah.
think it is.
Oh yeah, and the way I do it, I mean, I try to be as unique for each individual athlete as I can, but with 3 different sports. The wrestlers, you guys had 27 people. We had 20 some on the baseball team, and there was 18 or 19 swimmers. So making each, because I use sheets to let them know what they got to do, how many times, because college athletes are athletes. They're not always the brightest, so you got to give them a little thing to use.
True.
But it would take a long time. But I have binders. I have 7 binders from my time being here, just the strength conditioning stuff, and it is in periodical order of when they started and when they ended. If you look through those sheets, and we do have max out days, I'm averaging kids will add 100 pounds to their total, which we squat, bench, and deadlift on our totals. So to me, if I can make them a little bit stronger in the weight room, that's going to make their sport skill better because they can now move their body easier. That's the way I kind of approach things.
How often do you change the workout?
Been going in 4-week mesos.
Okay.
I might switch it a little bit this year because I've been getting into the conjugate method is what it's called. It was huge in Ohio. Louis Simmons, Westside Barbell, a bunch of powerlifters started it. And then he's actually developed it for different athletics. Like he has books for swimming, books for wrestling, baseball, basketball, and he does all of his research off of what the Russians used to do back in the 70s and 80s with all their weightlifting. And then he kind of put his own twist on it. And that's what I do. I just get ideas from everybody really and kind of make it my own.
Gotcha. Yeah. True. Yeah. Nowadays, you got to be a sponge. You got to learn from everybody else.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Especially with the internet. People nowadays that don't know something, just Google it. YouTube it.
Which, I mean, sometimes, is that a good thing or bad thing? I mean, both.
I think it's good.
Yeah.
Right now with me doing like odd jobs, so I'll do like carpets or flooring or roofing or something. My boss is like, if you don't know how to do something, just YouTube it. Because I work by myself. So he's like, just YouTube it and figure it out. So I'll just watch a YouTube video for 10 minutes and then do it. Same thing with weightlifting. You can just,
And that's what I do in the summer. Like I'll have a bunch of athletes. Hey, you wrote this on our program, and I'm not quite sure what it is or how to do it. And then I find a link that I think is sufficient. Send it to them and tell them
when they could have done it.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of garbage out there on the internet is what I'll throw out, especially in the fitness world. People like their likes and subscribes, so they'll kind of do anything for that. We got to kind of weed through those to get to the people who actually know what they're doing and want people to better themselves the right way and not get hurt.
Yeah, absolutely. And Coach Thomas, how do you think strength training plays a factor like in baseball?
Well, we are a quick, explosive sport. We don't run forever. We don't need that longevity. It's quick little things. I mean, I think my biggest example would be Kolton would probably agree. We had a 6'2", 160-pound shortstop come in as a freshman that was decently strong, but probably pound for pound is one of our strongest guys right now, 4 years later. But that long, lengthy strength, the core strength, those little things that we need for baseball. But we do a really good job in the weight room overall to help us out. I mean, we'll look at the body types, and if we want to make him a power hitter, not that we have a ton of power hitters, but a guy that's a little stronger, maybe we allow him a little more strength with that. But our infielders, we get the flexibility and the long, lengthy strength that is kind of a little more longevity, quick explosion, not longevity in the sense of running long, but that long, lengthy strength, kind of like a tall wrestler.
Yeah. So, how do players in the majors get hurt so easily then? Like, maybe Cole can answer this, maybe you, but man, I'm always seeing like a pulled hamstring or something.
They're just not used to doing any type of activity. Anytime they explode off a hit, they're just pulling a hammy.
Right.
I'm just kidding. Yeah.
That could be it. Well, I mean, that has to do with, except for this year, 162 game season. That's a long time to play baseball. Plus,
it is.
traveling and in and out of cars and in and out of buses.
I agree.
signing autographs, it's got to wear on you. And eventually, your body can only take so much stress. And then you see the guy, oh, I bruised my toe, and you're like, that guy's out for 5 days because he's got a bruised toe. But you don't know what his other 2 months before that looked like.
True. Yeah.
I mean, Colton's, I caught as a sophomore. Colton's caught his whole life, but Colton actually, when he was at Spoon River, was a two-way guy. He was a starting pitcher and a catcher. I don't know how he made it. I don't know how he's still walking. I don't know how he's still throwing with that shoulder, but 160. I mean, when you look at Yadier Molina, and me being a Cardinal fan, I'm going to use Yadi. Contreras with the Cubs, no questions. They catch 120 plus games in a year, and I remember Javi Lopez with the Braves one year was talking about how he tries to go in at 215, 220, and by the end of the season he's at 195 again because he just loses that and that has a factor of why maybe you do get a little injury there too, with no questions. But it just wears. It's wear and tear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How many games are there in the college season?
Well, we're allowed. 55? I think at any out of. I don't even know. 55 without postseason. We're allowed
as the D1 level, games.
Yeah, they're right around there. I don't even know what D1 is right now, honestly. But they're somewhere around there. Yeah, they're probably similar with that. And now the Division II this year just announced not too long ago that they're dropping to the D3. Criteria, and they're only going to be able to play 40 games this year, based off of potential Corona. But I think, I think every school is going to have the factor, budget wise too. It's going to really hamper all sports this year with budgets. So, a lot of schools are saying, hey, can you take 5, 6, 7 games out of your schedule just because of budget purposes and stuff with money. So. But overall, around 50 plus games usually within a year for all levels. Division III, I think, is 40 only.
And I asked my last guest this, who's a national finalist, Hayden from North Carolina State. I asked him his first thoughts of being seated, and I think he was first or second with Ryan Deacon from Northwestern, but he was seated first or second at the national tournament, and then COVID hit. And I'm sure, that moment, just absolutely heartbreaking. So, basically, what were both of y'all's first thoughts, after hearing the COVID and knowing, hey, listen, this season probably won't happen, because I'm sure for a lot of student athletes and coaches in the spring sports and the D1 level of wrestling were just crushed.
Well, Colton's going to know my reactions, and he's going to start seeing me look away a little bit because you don't understand. My son was a senior this year for me, and we were in Florida, and I'll tell you what, and including your two buddy wrestlers, my team grew up from a Monday to a Friday really, really quick, and I don't mean grew up in a bad way. They started to understand that they're hearing Disney was going to close on the Saturday that we were coming home, and when Disney closes, there's a serious issue going on in this in this world. But Thursday night, we'd got down there, and we're in the Orlando, Florida area for spring break for baseball, and we win 2 games on Thursday night. There's starting to be certain things closing down, the NCAA tournament, conference tournaments, everything's starting to go away. So, we know we're either going to get called home or we're going to be able to finish, and then we're going to get home and then probably, send the guys somewhere else. So there was a lot of questions. My wife is the dean of students there. So she was in touch with our VPs and the president and things in that nature, trying to, give us an idea of what's taking place. But they were still unsure of what was taking place. But that Thursday night, we had a meeting. A couple guys had some questions. My wife does a great job of trying to explain things. And unfortunately, towards the end, she looked up and saw Ryan Thomas standing there and kind of teared up, and kind of everybody got that look on their face, like it's about us, but Coach Thomas had been here, and Ryan's a senior, and his mom's trying to explain to the situation, and it's tough, but they kept asking, we're playing Friday, right? We're playing Friday. Yeah, we're going to play tomorrow. Well, what if they tell us we can't? We're playing tomorrow. We're going to play tomorrow. We'll finish that. But we did have the opportunity to play that last game and use it as a senior day. Kolton will tell you that we got ready to warm up, and nobody seemed to want to play catch with Ryan. And so I look at Colt, and Colt looks at me and goes, get out there. So I played catch with my son, possibly for the last time at that moment for about 20 minutes. And everybody got done playing. It was still me and him out there by ourselves. But this has affected, a lot of situations around the country, from all sports to, everything from religion to, politics to everything. And, it's never ever want to say the wrong thing by any means. But change sometimes is good, sometimes, is bad. But, the idea of understanding what this is about for us to get back to our normal lives, we have to follow some guidelines within reason, with no questions. But the guys did a great job with it overall. Still miss them. I wish we could have finished our season. Lucky enough, a few of them get their eligibility back. So Ryan and Kobe and, KJ, if he decides to, can come back and play one more year, get that extra 2 semesters and, finish their senior year properly. And hopefully we keep fighting through this with open minds and not too much of a closed mind. So we let everybody back into what we need to get accomplished as individuals.
Yeah, and I'm sure that that moment out there on the field with your son was probably pretty special, like knowing that, hey, this season's probably a wash. But yeah, like it makes me almost tear up and kind of sad, honestly.
Oh, it's a wonder I did. It's a wonder I just didn't do it. But yeah, it was probably, honestly, besides the first day I saw him. We have some backstories that I can't get into right now, in the sense of Ryan wears the number 17 for a certain reason. And the first day and Kolton was with me, and when I had to write number 17 back in the lineup after a 12-year hiatus, I see Ryan run out there for the first time, and Kolton probably had indication. I wrote the line out the night before we got to our game, because I didn't think I could do it that day. So I already had it written out and stuff. And, besides that first day that I saw him wear number 17 for the first time, that was a pretty special moment for me with him as an individual. I have a lot of special moments with all my baseball players, don't get me wrong. But with Ryan, it was really special.
Yeah, and I'm sure that moment is one that you will never forget. So now I'll ask Kolton his first thoughts on hearing the news and knowing that the season was probably over.
Yeah, I mean, so we get down there and it already kind of been started for a little bit. So I was like, all right, how bad is this about to get? Because flu viruses and all that. In the beginning, they were comparing it to that because we didn't know any better. So in my head, I'm like, oh, whatever, this will be fine. It's just another one of those things. And like he said, they started shutting the Disney down, and the SEC basketball tournament got canceled. Then they canceled March Madness. And I was like, oh, man, this is going to be crazy. And then Bridget had got that call from the VPs, and just the way because I worked for Bridget for 3 years, and I picked up a little bit of her gives on attitudes and how she's feeling and information type of things. But just the way her body language was, I was like, this is not something that's really good. There must be conversation of, we're not going to be here much longer going on. It was just a real emotional night that Thursday night in that room for a lot of reasons. Not just sadness. People were probably scared, didn't know what was coming. It was just crazy, man. Honestly, nothing like this has ever happened before. Since I've been breathing anyway.
Yeah.
And you guys are young.
Yeah. Yeah, there's still a lot more that can happen. So, like during those, during that moment, during these crazy times, and like just hearing that saddening news, how did the both of you guys kind of comfort the baseball team?
Yeah, that's a great question, because you want to be that strong leader, but yet, you're still a little vulnerable as a coach with no questions. You still have a family. You still have, mom and dads that are mine are a lot older than theirs. Just talking about, understanding what's taking place, making sure you're following procedures if they come into effect. We didn't know. We knew when we got home on Sunday that they were going to have to head home for another week of break, and then it extended. But trying to make sure they were okay, understanding any questions, just making sure they got home properly, safely, and they had an idea of what was going home, because we did have kids from out of state. We had kids from we had an Ecuadorian that also is a soccer player, and he did a tremendous job of calling while we were coming home, making plane tickets from Chicago to I think he had to fly into Colombia. But I try to stay in contact with him as much as possible, because I was worried that he actually texted me. He goes, "Hey, Coach, I made it into Colombia, but I can't get into Ecuador. They've kind of closed the borders." So I was like, and then about an hour later, he goes, "Hey, they're allowing me to," because I guess he flown into an area close to where he was at. So they allowed him into Ecuador. So, just making sure everybody got home, no matter if that was in Oklahoma, no matter if that was in Texas, no matter if that was in Ecuador, and, even 5 minutes away for my commuters and stuff. But, the ideas and concepts of understanding, even, Josh and RJ got really serious on those 2 nights, and, you'll understand that, Sam, but they were really concerned, and it was good to see that they, not only them, but everybody was understanding, and they asked a few questions. We answered what we could, and, they listened to the reports like we did on newscasts or read about it or whatever. So we were all kind of caught off guard, or just had limited ideas of what we could do. But, if they needed anything, they knew they could call, or if they needed to ride home, we'd have found a way to get them up to Chicago to the plane or whatever we needed to do. So.
How about you, Kolton?
I mean, like you said, it's kind of tough to put yourself in that situation. You want to be that strong guy, but like me, I didn't know what the hell was going on. I couldn't answer these questions these guys were asking, So I feel like on the way home, with like them understanding that possibly this would be the last bus ride they took together or whatever, I feel like the bus ride home had a better sense of like just familyness to it. I feel like they all started getting along. Not that we didn't get along as a team, but I think it just kind of was enhanced on that way home, just because they kind of understood this is probably the last time we'll be around this group of people,
It was really weird because, kind of like the jabbing that they do with each other, and, give them grief. It kind of eased up a little. Yeah, it kind of eased up a little, and they were more serious about the ideas and the facts of that. They were still joking, but there was just a little more calmness to their joking, instead of it was kind of a wry, well, that was supposed to be funny, but we better just a little laugh at that time. But they did a tremendous job, and I was really proud of how they handled really the last 48 to 72 hours within that range of realizing whatever's going to take place. But I didn't imagine it'd be what it ended up being. Honestly, I really didn't.
Not at all.
Yeah, it was a pretty crazy moment, because I texted my brother Tony here, and I was like texting him all of my March Madness picks and the brackets and my picks like
you took Illinois, didn't you? You took Illinois to win it, yeah, didn't you?
No.
Did they even make it in?
And I texted him like my wrestling picks too, and each weight class, and then the basketball tournament, and then I was seeing that like games were like being stopped before, like with the players on the court, and they were being stopped. So I was like, gosh, dang, I guess.
Yeah.
Pretty serious.
Because that's how I make some of my money is betting on sports. Because this DraftKings app that just came out. Yeah, I don't think Illinois has it yet, but we can online gamble in PA. And I made a pretty good amount of money, and I was betting on the March Madness games. And I think it was Creighton. I don't even remember, but I bet on them like a pretty good amount of money. And then they stopped it at halftime. And I was so upset. I was like, I just lost out on this money. I mean, luckily they gave me my original bet back, but it was upsetting.
Yeah, I didn't.
Also bet on some fights too.
Yeah, that's how I make some money, is betting on fights. Yeah.
Well, I didn't have a chance to, Sam and Jordan, for Penn State to win their national championship this year as a team.
Yeah.
Listen, if it came down to it, I would have favored Penn State, but Iowa, it's just so hard to. It was going to be.
You got to take a side. You can't be here. It's either Penn State or Iowa. It's not one or the other. You just got to suck it up.
50-50 on it, Tony.
I had
there is
Iowa.
no 50-50.
I had Iowa.
It would have been good. It would have been good.
It would have been really
fun
good
to watch. Yeah. It would. But I just have a little likeness for Penn State. So nothing against Iowa because they have a great wrestling
How do you
program
like
too.
Penn State?
Why?
Yeah.
I like you're gonna find this really crazy, but growing up, I rooted for coaches more than I rooted for teams.
So,
if that makes any
Joe
sense.
Paterno?
So yeah, I was definitely a big Joe Paterno fan, and I really liked Bobby Knight. So I rooted for Indiana in basketball when I was growing up. Certain coaches. I'm a big Steeler fan, so they're within that range. And I know.
Mm-hmm.
It's better. What I don't do a Raider fan, right?
Yeah.
But, yeah, I guess it's better than a Bill fan.
Yeah. Listen, I can't stand the Bills Mafia, and then Tony here is a Dolphins fan, so it's the Bills rival.
Well, my wife, like him, my wife was a huge Dan Marino fan, so
Really?
maybe not a Dolphin fan, but just a
yeah.
huge Marino fan. We have a poster of Dan, a full size poster somewhere around there, Dan Marino.
Office, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it is in her office. You're right. It is in her office. Thanks, Kolton. Yeah. So my wife liked the when Marino was there. He really liked it. Liked the Dolphins, but I don't know. That'd been a great NCAA tournament because I think there could have been some definite positive upsets in those championship rounds, and somebody was going to shock you.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean it happens every NCAA tournament too. Like somebody just it's their day and time, and man, they just shine. So yeah, I was bummed once they both the March Madness and March Madness were both canceled for sure.
Well, I got my buddy a couple years ago to watch the NCAA National Championship Finals. It was probably 3 years ago. So it was when I think when I Martinez got beat. So that 3 years ago.
Joseph?
Yeah. And he got upset. Yeah, it was 3 years ago, I think. So we were at his shop, and he kind of like, "What are we watching?" I'm like, "Hey, we're watching the NCAA tournament." He goes, "What?" And I go, "The finals. This is going to be." I go, "You watch these guys." And he got into it. So, and not much of a wrestling fan, and it's and people don't realize it's tough not understanding wrestling, how you can not get it. But being a wrestler in high school made a big difference in me watching it. Wrestling was the best sport I ever participated in my life. And I'm a baseball coach, and I played baseball in college for 4 years and growing up. But the 3 years that I wrestled really taught me a lot about myself, and don't realize how you're out there by yourself. There's nobody else that's going to help you. And it taught me a lot about myself. And, you're either the prey or you're going to make somebody the prey. And it was fun when you won, and it was tough when you lost. But great sport, and I really enjoy watching it and talking about it with the guys, and even taking some of them in the wrestling room, and they think they can still take Coach Thomas. Not a chance.
Then a lot of jaws hit the floor.
A lot of losses. I don't know if I've lost.
Yeah, and really, Coach Thomas, how do you think wrestling has made you a better baseball coach?
I'll tell you what, the focus, because they don't understand it's move after move after move after move. You counter, you're on offensive, you counter defensively, you go back to the offense, you try to figure out and I think that really helped me. But it really taught me a lot about me as an individual, more so than ever, because baseball, in my opinion, is a team sport or is an individual sport with the team atmosphere, because I can only play one position at a time. And I can help my teammates out by, if I'm that shortstop and make a play that maybe the third baseman missed on a backhand, or an up the middle play, or a fly ball that the center fielder or the center fielder left fielder loses. I go back and I take control and I make that play. You can make up, but I believe baseball is a lot individual sport, and you can only hit for yourself. Coach can take the bat out of their hands with no questions, by sacrificing, by hitting and running, by whatever that is. But other than that, you're up there on your own. Ideas. So I think baseball and wrestling, but wrestling really taught me a lot about myself individually, of how mentally strong, how physically strong, but that mental aspect, because, again, baseball is a game of failure. People don't realize that. I mean, you go 3 for 10 and you're a stud in professional baseball, and you failed 7 out of 10 times. And that's mentally draining. And so I think mental aspect with the wrestling concept made me a better coach with no questions. But the grittiness, the toughness, the will to want to win, fight, and that all came into play, especially on the baseball field. But it's a lonely world out there if you're not very good.
Yeah.
True.
That's funny how you brought up that point of view of like batting 300 but failing 7 out of 10 times. Like, I guess I've never seen it that way.
Yeah, I got a question for you, Sam. I got a little funny question for you. You know those poles that are down the line, those yellow ones?
Yep.
What are those called?
I've always called them foul poles.
They're fair poles, because if they hit them, it's a fair ball. They're not foul poles; they're fair poles.
Yeah, they're fair poles.
If they hit them, it's a fair ball.
Yeah,
so I call them fair poles. Is your pizza here?
Huh?
No, my brother.
Your pizza here?
No, Colton's brother's calling him.
I thought
So
maybe your
fair
girlfriend was
pole,
called you.
yeah.
You told your mom and dad about your girlfriend yet?
Uh-oh, they're listening.
I'm joking.
What were you gonna say, Tone?
My girlfriend just called me. I didn't answer, obviously. And then she texted me and said, I have a flat tire. And I'm like, I'm doing a podcast. It's like, you better figure it out.
Yeah. Where's Abby stuck at?
She was just in town, but her whole family's here, so they can do it.
Yeah. So now I'm gonna hit the both of y'all since Colton's gone now. So I'm gonna hit both Tonys. So a double duo Tony speed round. I'm gonna ask you a question.
Okay, hold up. My dog's barking. Can't you hear Rudy?
Yeah, I can hear Rudy. Hey, Bridget.
She just walked behind the screen.
Are y'all ready for the speed round?
If I can, I remember I got a slow mind because I'm old.
So hey, listen. I'll ask a question. My
Okay.
brother answers first, and then you. Okay.
Okay.
Who's the best coach in sports?
Oh my.
In all of sports,
And,
I'd say, yeah, I'd have to go with good old Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
Just he wins too much. It's just
Yeah.
that's it. No matter what he has, he wins. He doesn't have these good you can't say good, but I guess in football when you have some small white slot wide receivers and you're winning the game.
Yeah. Coach Thomas?
Chuck Noll. He won 4 Super Bowls.
Pittsburgh Steeler coach?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you
All
talking present or current?
Both is good.
Yeah. Either past, present,
Bill
future.
Bill Belichick's definitely up there with no
Yeah.
questions. Yeah.
Who's your
Best
favorite
wrestling
athlete?
coach. Best wrestling coach is Cal by far.
Oh yeah.
Dave
Yeah. I
Clem.
would, huh?
Dave Clem.
Yeah.
Dave
Which
Clem.
Daryl Thomas.
yeah,
now
who's
at
now at Campbell.
Campbell. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, the Camels.
Those
I
guys
have-
taught me a lot. Those guys taught me a lot in my life.
Yeah, I have heard a lot of good things about Coach Clem and Coach Thomas, Daryl Thomas, and you, obviously. So, brother Tony, favorite athlete and why?
Favorite athlete. I don't really watch much professional sports anymore just because I think it's not what it used to be. But I just like fighting, and I'm going to go with Justin Gaethje. I like Gaethje a lot. I think he's a good person, and he is just a great fighter. His nickname is Highlight. He just has so many highlights.
Coach Thomas?
I could go many different ways, but I'm going to go baseball with this. Little older school, but Cal Ripken Jr. Cal Ripken Jr. was one of my favorite athletes growing up when I was younger. Great guy, good ball player, team leader. Seemed to be Derek Jeter could be there. I know you're a big Yankee fan, so the captain would be. But Cal Ripken definitely was one of my all-time, if not my favorite athlete of all time.
And how many consecutive games did Cal play? It was something crazy.
I've got it upstairs, but it's way. Yeah, it's way up there.
It's.
I think you would think I would know, but
I could go on the Google stat right now.
No, there's no. I don't even want to guess. 2478. I don't know, something like that. It might even be higher than that.
If I think of athletic records, that has got to be in the top.
You can never say it's not going to be broken, but I would probably go to my grave when I turn 105 and place a $10 bet that goes forever.
2,632 according to my
up there.
Yeah.
Wow, that's something.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Last All-Star game, it's a home run to begin the game.
Yes, I do remember watching those highlights. Well, I mean, I didn't watch it live with the highlights. So, favorite movie, Tony?
Favorite movie? Oh, sorry.
You want to go?
No, because I've got to really think about that because
it's so hard to pick a favorite movie. I like Legends of the Fall. That is a really good movie. I'll name off a couple. I like Godfather Part 1 and 2. What else? I like Robert De Niro, Deer Hunter, Taxi Driver. And what else? I'll leave it at that. Those are some good movies that people should watch. Legends of the Fall, great movie though. People should watch that one. It's just so it's just perfect.
I didn't really watch too many movies. I was a lot of athletic events, but you're gonna laugh at this one. But Fast Times at Ridgemont.
It's kind of funny.
Spicoli and all those guys. Yeah, it was just back in the day and stuff like that.
Sean Penn?
Sean Penn, yes, it was Sean Penn. That shows my age right there. But I watched it the other day for the first time. Actually, I was right before this. I missed the last half hour. I was watching Straight Outta Compton.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just watching the end of that, and I missed the last half hour. I've seen it before, but I was watching that.
So my favorite movie, this is going to throw a lot of people off. They've probably never even heard of it. It's a movie called Secondhand Lions. It was one of the first movies I remember watching as a kid, and it was just had such a good story to it. And then the way it tied everything in at the end, it was just fantastic.
This is amazing because our third episode with Coach Jordan Bakley from Lincoln College said Secondhand Lions.
Shut up.
Yes.
Who?
I swear. Jordan Bakley.
Who's that?
Yeah, but he literally said Secondhand Lions. That's pretty wild.
That's funny.
Like
yeah.
That's pretty crazy. So, Tony, your favorite sport?
Mine?
Which one?
Which one? Yeah.
Brother
Me?
Tony. Yeah.
Fight. I like MMA personally, so I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, and I'm sure the both of y'all's is baseball.
I really like college football, but baseball would be my all-time sport. Yeah.
Yeah.
And depending on certain people's views, hunting is a favorite of mine as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is a sport. Yeah, for sure. So,
you're not gonna ask me my favorite baseball movie?
Well, yeah, there is so many. I would probably
there's
say,
a lot. What would you say?
Sandlot.
I would say The Rookie with Dennis Quaid.
Yeah.
is it?
Yeah, Dennis Quaid. You'd probably that's my second favorite. But you got to think, man. Augie Garrido was in his movie. The University of Texas coach. He was the Yankee manager. So For the Love of the Game is my favorite.
Really?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good movie.
Because I think it goes into deep understanding of it gives you the feel of what it feels like to be in that situation, but yet until you've been on that mound. You really don't understand what it's like to throw a fastball down the middle, and nobody hit it for how many outs and stuff. But I don't know. It's just one of those that I liked. I mean, there's a lot of them, but that just as a coach, for the love of the game, was my favorite.
All right, I got a tough one here for the speed round. Who's the best hitter in baseball? Starting with Kolton.
Current or all time?
Actually, both.
All time, Tony Gwynn.
Okay.
Current, Mike Trout.
Tony, my brother.
Right now, man, I don't watch too much right now. I agree, Mike Trout. I'd have to say Mike Trout.
Yeah. Coach Thomas.
I guess if you have to put money on it, you would say Mike Trout, but I'm going to have to give a plug to Kevin Kiermaier because he was in our conference at one time in 2010 over at Parkland, and he used to come after baseball games and play catch with my son, who was 8 and 10 years old, 11 years old, 12 years old, however Ryan was at that time. But that's just a shout out to him. But Mike Trout. But overall, people just don't realize how good of a hitter Willie McGee was for the St. Louis Cardinals. He had a couple batting titles, and he's my favorite Cardinals, so I'm going to do him. But also Pete Rose. Pete Rose was one of the best hitters. Holds the most hits, but Tony Gwynn was one of the best with no questions.
See, with me watching the postseason last fall in baseball, I'm going to say Anthony Rendon for the Nationals. There is something about his swing, man. I think
he hits the ball.
Huh?
He hits the ball.
Well, I mean, it's not just that. Hey, listen.
That's a good thing.
I mean, I could have said Aaron Judge, who I wanted to.
Yeah,
Who's that?
So funny baseball story talking about.
Wait,
baseball.
you have to be healthy to hit a baseball.
When he hits it 500.
But if Rendon played 172 games and you only play 56 games, you better take Rendon.
Yeah.
Telling your story.
Yeah, I had a funny story for today, and it's funny that Sammy asked me to do the podcast with a couple baseball players. I'm sure you guys playing baseball know Randy Johnson hit a bird.
Yep.
Pretty crazy. So today I was golf. Here we got the dog.
I think nuts. Another dog's outside.
He doesn't like it.
No, Rudy.
I'll wait. It's all good.
Come here. Leave him alone. Our other dog's outside, so he goes crazy. Sorry.
Oh, you're all right.
Bridget, can you get? Yes, I'm live. Sorry, I just saw that.
So today I was golfing with my girlfriend, and last hole we do, I hit my drive onto the fairway. My next shot, I kind of shanked a little. It was like a line drive, hit a bird out of midair. Thing starts flopping on the fairway. I sent a picture to Sammy on Snapchat, and I was like, did I just hit a bird? And first thing I thought of 100% was Randy Johnson demolishing a bird. The chances that happen has to be so.
Wow.
So,
that would be.
I see the bird flopping, and I go up, and obviously I poked it with my club, and it was dead. And I'm like, I felt a little bad, but
Shouldn't have been there.
Hope it wasn't a state bird.
Yeah, I don't know what it was.
Crazy things that don't happen very often. I saw a video of some little league game, about 8 or 10U maybe, I don't know. They're pitching to each other. Kid throws a ball. You hear heads up. Fields right next to each other. Foul ball comes into play. Kid hits both of them at the same time. Hit the foul ball and the pitch thrown at him.
Oh, I did just see that. Yeah,
I saw it. Hey,
that's funny.
Sam, you have to now. Kolton had that idea of how we met for the first time. Listen to this story. I'll let Kolton explain how we met for the first time. He wasn't my assistant. He was a player, but listen to this story.
Okay.
Yeah, I was not Tony's assistant. I was just some shithead that played for Spoon River still. It was
At the time, I agree.
Sophomore year, and our dugouts at Lincoln were open. We have fences now, open fronts, and they're kind of, I wouldn't say super close to the field, but you had to watch out for foul balls. And we had a kid, Jimmy Gillum, who was a right-handed hitter who was hitting, and we had a left-handed DH, John Hollingsworth. I'll never forget this situation. Now, I was sitting at the end of the bench talking to my best friend who was playing with us at the time. He was pitching, I was catching. We just got 3 outs. And John's on deck, taking his swings, getting his timing down, like nothing's happening. I couldn't tell you who was pitching for Tony, but a couple pitches into the at-bat, Jimmy fouls one straight off the end of his bat. Like, I'm talking the end cap somehow he hit it. And it goes over, and John's a lefty, so he's facing the plate open. And it hits this kid directly in his mouth, nose, eye.
Man.
Like, he had to get plastic surgery right here. It knocked him out cold. Folded him like a damn lawn chair. So
It did.
I was on the fire department back home at the time. I was a volunteer firefighter for 5 years. So I was like, oh, shit, he's out. So I run over there thinking I'm going to help. And then here comes this guy I'd never met before. And he says, get the fuck out of the way. And I was like, and I stand up and in my head, I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? And then he calls the trainer over, and they actually do more good than I would have ever done. But
Is
yeah,
that,
that's
is
how
that
we met.
true, Coach Thomas?
Yeah, that there's no questions. I wasn't trying to be a jerk by any means, but they had a coach that was a little older, and as soon as it hit, I mean, we're in the third base dugout. I go flying over there, and he drops like a sack of potatoes. I mean, it hit him flush right underneath the nose. And he got knocked out, but I didn't want the responsibility of Kolton to have something. And I understand what he was trying to do at that time. Our president was actually out there, and somebody's calling 911. Then all of a sudden, this lady comes from outside the fence, and she was a nurse. But yeah, he was out, and no harm towards Kolton, but after I thought about it, I'm like, you know what, the kid probably thinks I'm the biggest idiot, but I think he understands what I was trying to do in that situation. But it's tough to put a kid in that responsibility, and I didn't want to. And our trainer was a little slow in reacting and getting over there, and I'm yelling at him, get over here, and our president's like, hey, where's our trainer? I'm like, he's there. He goes, can he run? I'm like, nope, that's full speed right there. So, but yeah, Kolton, it was true. I probably did tell him no offense to him at that time, but it was a pretty severe situation, and I'm glad he was there for that young man.
That
but
kid got plastic surgery, huh?
Yeah, so we
well, actually, the next day we had to go to their place, and he was there, had stitches, and I got to explain, he had a little cut right here, so he looked like he had a little mustache right there, just a little bitty one.
his tooth broke and went through his lip.
Yeah, tooth broke through, but he was a trooper. He was there the next day. I went and asked him how he was, and he was walking and tremendous. There's no way. I'd have lost 5 teeth, and but if it's up another inch and a half, he probably loses an eye. If it's down a little, he hits him in his throat. Who knows what happens there? But but that was the first time we really met as individuals in life. So
it's a small world, huh?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So,
A funny story. Sorry, I got a funny story off of getting hurt now. In the Edinburgh, I don't know if you were there, Sam. You might have been in the Edinburgh wrestling room. My good buddy Tyler Bath, he wrestles Edinburgh. He still does. He's a tough kid. PA State runner-up. In practice, 30 kids. He ends up, I don't know how, he breaks his arm. So his arm is out, his elbow's out, and he's just laying on the mat. And coaches are like, keep wrestling, don't stop. Dude, this kid's laying in the middle of the wrestling room with a broken arm screaming. And and then all of a sudden we start jogging. We're just hopping over the kid like he's a hurdle. Dude, it was one of the most kind of crazy things. Why are we still wrestling right now? And our assistant coach, he's like, instead of getting the trainer, he gets his phone. He's like, I'm taking a picture. He takes us a picture of it. And then eventually, we get the trainer and stuff, but it's just kind of funny story of
Tyler is a tough kid too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I have ever heard that story before.
Yeah, you must not. I was right next to him too, and you just hear a whatever crunch or pop or whatever it is, and I'm about to throw up in my mouth.
Well,
and it was just funny how he kept wrestling.
You actually snapped your arm in what, 8th grade?
Yeah, I think it was 8th grade. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wrestling at home.
Wrestling?
Yep, wrestling. My buddy who we were practicing with, Matt returned me. I posted my arm and it just popped out. I mean, yeah.
I broke my arm my junior year in a match in high school.
Oh yes, yeah.
And the funny story about that is about 6 years ago, I'm up at Thornton's, our gas station, and this kid's in front of me, and I hadn't seen him in 25 years, 20 years. And I look at him and said, "Is your name so-and-so?" He goes, "Yeah." And I said, "Hey, Tony Thomas." He goes, "How's your arm?" Because he was a senior and I was a junior, so I never saw him again.
Yeah.
And it was pretty funny. He goes, "Man, I got to go tell my dad I saw you. He was so worried about you and stuff." But it worked
Should've
out.
messed with
That's
him.
funny.
It's still broken, man.
Yeah, still
Hurts. I still have a
wobbling.
bump.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
honestly,
It hurt.
I've never broken anything. So I mean, how does the arms feel now? Like both Tonys, like sore? Or,
I lost range of motion. This one I can touch my shoulder. This one I can't.
yeah.
I have to push a little. It doesn't hurt ever. It feels good.
How about you, Coach?
Sorry, I actually got a scout that's texting me right now from the Phillies asking me to go watch somebody throw this weekend for him. So I'm kind
Wow.
of reading that. No, I don't know when rain's coming. I don't know if it's going to snow. That there's no,
Sure,
there's
yeah.
none of that. I mean,
Yeah.
I think I can hear a radio though. No, but no, it wasn't bad. See, mine happened towards the end of the year, so I was nervous I was going to miss baseball, and that really bothered me. And going into my senior year, I wasn't going to wrestle my senior year because I wanted to make sure I didn't get hurt for college baseball.
Yeah.
And so my probably another factor of why I'm coaching is my high school baseball coach. He called me down to his office when he heard I wasn't going to wrestle, probably maybe a month and a half into school year, my senior year. And he pretty much looked at me and said, "If you don't wrestle, you don't play baseball." And I'm like, "Wait a minute. No, I'm all region. I'm all conference. You're not going to do that to me." A little cockiness on the shoulder and a little chip there. And he goes, "I'm telling you, if you don't wrestle, you won't play baseball this year for me." And I wrestled, and we got fourth in the state as a team. So he was a big factor in that. But no, it's good now. I mean, and people don't know this, Sam, as Kolton know, I'm ambidextrous. I can throw equally well with both hands. So I can throw batting.
That's impressive.
I can throw batting practice both-handed, left-handed, right-handed. So, I haven't in a long time, but I can still play catch. And Colton's going to laugh, but normally at a baseball game, if I get a foul ball, I pick it up and put it in my back pocket instead of throwing to the official or throw to the dugout. Because no matter what, usually within 3 or 4 pitches, I get another foul ball hit down the third base line to me.
Is that true?
Oh, yeah. It's really, it's wild. And he all right, he doesn't like our next, does he? He doesn't like our next door neighbor dog. But I'll yell at the catcher, and I'll throw one right-handed, then I'll throw one back left-handed, and the whole team will like look at me like I'm just an alien.
Yeah. Do you hit both sides?
No, I hit right-handed, but
Okay.
when I was young, I grew up. I really should have been a lefty, but my dad knew I was going to be kind of small, and he made me throw right-handed because as a lefty, you have really a spot for 3 spots: first base, pitching, and maybe the outfield. So he made me throw right-handed, and I just when my right arm got tired, I threw left-handed, but predominantly threw right-handed. That was my stronger side.
That is wicked impressive, and honestly, I don't think I have ever seen that. I mean, obviously, I have heard of switch hitters, but like switch arms.
That'd be funny as a pitcher. Like he has like a right-handed batter. Well, you're supposed to pitch the right arm if it's a right-handed batter, right?
That would be as a pitcher, yes, to your advantage.
That'd be
yes.
funny if he switched every batter left, right. Left,
Well,
right.
there's one kid that played at Creighton. That Benedetti, I think was his last name, but he's ambidextrous. But now you have to finish. You have to indicate which way you're going first, and then you have to finish with that hitter there.
Yeah.
Because there was a minor league game a couple years ago where a switch hitter and an ambidextrous.
It was Benedetti.
So they were like switching.
And he went into left-handed batter's box.
Yep.
So he put his glove on the other hand. Batter stepped out, went to the other box. He stepped off, switched.
That's funny. That's a good one.
That's awesome. So so before I get into the last segment and my main last question for all 3 of you, I'll just ask my brother Tony if if he has any other questions for Kolton or Coach Thomas.
I mean, I could talk all day, to be honest.
Same,
Yes,
but
so could I.
Yes, both Tonys could. That's for sure. So obviously this podcast has a limit unless
What are we at right now? Does it say?
at about 85 minutes. So
No, that's not bad.
I like to stick in between 60 and 100 minutes.
I like the Rogans out
Yeah.
2.5 hour, 3 hour.
Yeah. After doing some research, people start to kind of get
Tune away.
turned away from a certain long podcast, or if the podcast is too short, then people don't find interest in it just because they don't think that really there's enough information or positive vibes from it. So the last segment, and I'll go from youngest to oldest with the crazy
First.
times. With the crazy times happening, the depressing news headlines, all this stuff that should not be happening, but unfortunately it is. I want to end with a inspiring message for us sitting here now, and for the viewers and the listeners that are going to be watching this or listening to this in a day or two. And I'll start with my brother Tony, who will also probably be a guest or a co-host here in the future.
I think going off the COVID thing with the athletes, the biggest thing I seen that, I'm not an athlete anymore, it didn't affect me, but I think it was John Smith, Oklahoma State wrestling coach. He said, I think it was him, I'm 90% sure. He said to his athletes, and he said the last time there was no NCAA wrestling championship was World War II. So it's you got to put that in perspective to where these kids are going off to fight for their lives and, the freedom of America and all these other countries, because you obviously know, Hitler, he was killing a bunch of people. And he's right now, he's what do we have? We don't have a wrestling season. What's the big deal? So, I thought that was a good message that helped me, and I think helped a lot of people really put it into perspective, like you were saying, that it could be a lot worse for so many people. And anytime you have a bad day because of COVID or anything else, just think of the other people that have it so much worse. Anything, cancer, they lose a limb in a car accident, they have a mental disability, anything like that. And, we're all sitting here able-bodied, able-mind, doing what we want. So I think just, continue to spread the positive messages to people and just trying to help other people would be the biggest thing. But yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty good, Tony. Kolton?
So say the question again after listening to. Sorry.
Just share with us and the viewers a inspiring message of maybe, really how to get through these tough times, or
So, like everyone else, probably sat at home for a couple days and felt scared shitless reading headlines. And, oh my God, everybody's gonna die, and we're all gonna get the coronavirus, and then the country, everyone's gonna do this. You could sit there and do that. One thing that Bartman, my college coach, always preached to us, and I kind of put this in the perspective of how you handle yourself during the coronavirus. Control the things that you can control, and if things are out of your control, don't worry about them because you can't affect them anyway. So, during this coronavirus time, I really got back to I went home, got a little better relationship with my dad. We never got sick. No one back home got sick. Spent a bunch of time with family that I would have been spending on the road, traveling, playing baseball, coaching, that sort of stuff. So I just kind of took the good with the bad. Yeah, we didn't have a baseball season, but I got to see my family members for more time than I would have this summer. So I kind of just kept that in the back of my head and stuck to myself most days and wore my mask when they told me to.
Yeah, that's a pretty good, Coach Thomas, a inspiring motivational message for the viewers.
I don't know if it's going to be inspiring and motivational, but I'll do my best. I just think as a society, we need to continue to understand what's going on in life. Understand that, every day that you have a chance to take a deep breath and live, there's a positive. Family is very important, with no questions. I think a lot of us have reconnected with our family more than we've ever had an opportunity. Again, not going to get into religion, not going to get into politics, but, the faith in God has come back in a lot of people's lives with no questions. Political, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm a Republican and a Democratic. I want the best person in office for this country, no matter who that is. But with that speaking, we've got to continue to grow as a nation in all departments, from love to this factor. My son grew up on the Lincoln College campus, and I think I can honestly say my son sees no race with no questions. He has for his 23 years been a very understanding gentleman about what's taken place in society, from good and bad. But I think for us to grow and continue to, some people are going to speak their voice a little more than others, but just continue to grow as a nation and recognize the positives that we really do have. There's things that we need to fix. There's no questions about that, but continue to live your life to the best as you can as an individual. Continue to support your family, your friends, your city, your state, your nation, and I think hopefully we get back to where we can shake each other's hands when we see each other in the streets again and say, hey, missed you. And, how are things? I'm glad you're okay. But just be able to hug, shake hands, and continue to grow as a nation and as an individual and as family.
Yeah, that was a pretty good, coach. And I honestly think that, one of my main reasons of doing this is to spread positive energy and positive vibes. And I think so far it has worked pretty good. And having on Kolton and you and my brother Tony has definitely helped in that aspect of being inspirational people, positive people, and sharing your backstories and what motivated you and these awesome messages. So I thank all three of you for being on.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and Tony, you got anything?
No, I mean, nothing that you want to end it, so we can end it.
Yeah. And obviously, I plan on having you on here in the future.
Yeah,
so that will be a thing. And I just want to say thanks for coming on and doing this. And obviously, it was fun. And I forget who my next guest is, honestly, but I think it's Nathan Tomasello, who is the Ohio State Buckeye, 4-time All-American wrestler. So that is going to be a good one. I think he's my next guest. But
What's his name?
Nathan
Is
Tomasello.
his Insta handle NATO?
Yes.
Yeah.
Dude, I know who that is. That dude's a monster.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, it's NATO. That's his nickname.
He works out with Coach Myers.
Yes.
Didn't he beat a Penn State guy?
Yeah.
Coach
Who did-
Belichick.
That's funny.
It was Nico, right? Nico, or no?
No.
He
Or no, did he lose?
Nico. Yeah.
Did Nico beat him?
Honestly, I don't know. So
I don't
I'm not
remember.
gonna say. But it's NATO, so that's pretty funny how Colt knows that. But thanks guys for coming on, and hopefully I can have you all on maybe before baseball season starts.
We'll try.
Yeah. So thanks for tuning in right here. Next week, NATO. Bye.
Thanks.
Yep.
See ya.
Yeah.